Hello and welcome. I'm so excited today to be joined by two of my newer friends, Steve and Caleb. And we're here today, and actually we're in Southfield today. As you can see, the beautiful Southfield skyline behind us. And we're actually at the Miracle League field in Southfield that was under construction several years ago. And the reason we're here with Steve and Caleb is because we have some exciting news, and you've probably heard, hopefully you've heard, but we are building a Miracle League field right here in Orion Township. And so we're excited today to welcome you, Steve and Caleb. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
No problem.
And as you can see, we're kind of in your hood right now, but we're going to talk today a little bit about what's coming to our neighborhood.
Right.
So first of all, let's start with you, Steve. Tell me a little bit about Southfield, the field that's behind us right now, and how did this come to be?
Right. I haven't seen that picture in a while. It's bringing back some old memories. I mean, that was 2004. And at the time, there was only one other Miracle League field in the country, and that was the original first Miracle League field in Conyers, Georgia. And it was very interesting because I was in a similar position as the guys in Conyers. It was a group of dads that were out coaching their able-bodied kids. And I had, when I was coaching my son through Little League, a boy that had been injured by a babysitter, suffered some brain damage. And he used to come to every game in his helmet, watched us play. And after the game, I'd run around the bases with him. We'd pretend we were pitching to him. And it was just a thrill to see him. But in the back of our brain, it was like, this is wrong. Right. Every child deserves the opportunity to play. Now, at the same time, that was going on in my life in Conyers, Georgia. These guys are coaching their kids. There was a little girl in a wheelchair that came to watch the games, but she couldn't play. So they were part of a Rotarian group, and they had some architects and people that got together and said, let's develop a field that removes the barriers. And the barriers are the grass or dirt. As Caleb will tell you later, if you're in a wheelchair or walker, it's not easy to get around. So what they did was they designed a synthetic rubber field, and all of the obstructions were built into it so that they weren't an obstruction. They removed the boundaries. The bases are built into the system. There's no grass, there's no dirt to slow kids down or to hurt them. So we were both in the similar place, and we made this happen in 2004.
So wow, this is the 15th year anniversary, if my math is right, for Southfield. So fast forward, so Miracle League is it a national or international organization?
It's national.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're based out of Atlanta.
Right.
So you, in 2004, brought this idea to Southfield, and you can see what him and many others built, but this is really kind of Steve's brainchild that's behind us. And so when you started this, did you have any idea it would become what it is today?
I hoped, but I really didn't have a clue. I did not have any family members with a disability, so I was not in touch with that community. But after the field in Conyers was built, Brian Gumbel and HBO Sports featured that field on a Real Sports episode. That's where I learned about it. And again, that was the only field at the time, so I'm like, this is so cool. I mean, I spend so much of my time doing for Little League kids, able-bodied kids. I wonder, do kids with disabilities have a place to play? And they didn't. And so it was just about rallying the community, like we are now in Independence Township. It was showing people what this would mean to kids.
Right.
And kids, it's a soft spot in a lot of people's hearts when they look at kids that can't do something.
Right, and so little did we know, we were on a little bit of a parallel course here maybe a decade after you. In about 2014, we built a new playground out at Friendship Park, where we're going to build our Miracle League field here in Orion. And we built this beautiful field, playground, and all these cool structures. And I have 3 daughters, and they're all able-bodied, and we had a group of parents come to us and say, that's amazing, great job, but where are our kids going to play? And I'd never even thought about it, frankly. I feel guilty today saying that, especially sitting by my friend Caleb here. But so they said, we have kids that are in wheelchairs or that use walkers, and we built a $500,000 playground, and the community's excited about it, but all they can do is watch their brothers and sisters, essentially, because there's mulch. There's things that are barriers for them to use the equipment. And so that kind of started here in Orion around 2000, 13 or 14, a group of involved parents, just like you, kind of got involved saying, hey, what if we raised money? Could we build some playground elements next to that large playground structure that our kids could use? So we said, of course. And so since that time, we have built what we originally called the Let Them Play playground here in Orion, which has a wheelchair swing and the first of its kind in our state, merry-go-round that you can wheel, that's level with the ground and has the pour-in-place turf so you can wheel a chair on it, and some other cool things for people to use that have disabilities. And so we've just sort of continued full circle, and little did I know, or really I think many people in our community, that this amazing field exists about 30 minutes away from us in Southfield that serves the same community. Since we built that playground, we've added other elements around the township, and we do have kids that are driven here by their parents that come really from not just Orion, but from all over, because we have stuff for them to do, which is kind of a new thing. So fast forward a little bit, and this same group, as well as our Lake Orion Wiffle Ball Association, which we have one of those, said, we need a place to play wiffle ball, and we'd like to build a cool field, but what if we could build a field that would serve those with disabilities, and not just young kids, but disabled veterans and things like that? What if we had a place that people could come and play? And that's when we started learning about the Miracle League field. And since then, it's kind of been a whirlwind the last couple years, and here we are today. We're talking about the field that we are actually going to build this year.
Yeah.
Target opening is January, or I'm sorry, not January, I'm excited. June 15th. June 15th is a Saturday, so that's our big goal. So let's talk for a minute about, let's introduce Caleb. I think it's a good time to talk to Caleb for a few minutes.
Let me tell you how I met Caleb. He came to our league to play, I think in our second season we were talking about. Yeah. And he was a feisty little spirit even back then. And he wanted to play baseball. But Caleb has CP, and he was limited. And at that time, were you in a wheelchair when you first came out? Or were you so you went from a wheelchair to canes?
Like from a wheelchair to a walker to cane.
To cane. So, kids are interesting. You get out and you put them all together and everybody's the same to kids. But yet when a kid is in a wheelchair and he looks out and he sees a child maybe in a walker or with a cane, they're like, hey, why am I in a wheelchair? I want to do that. Right. And Caleb had a goal. He didn't want to stay in that wheelchair. And he just kept advancing. I mean, when he started with us, Chris, he batted on the ground on his knees with one hand because he couldn't do it any other way.
What was your batting average back then?
Like a cajillion.
In the Miracle League, they all bat 1,000. So every kid's going to hit, every kid's going to get on. But the fact that he put his mind to making himself as good as he could be, going through extra therapy. Right. And he went from the wheelchair to the walker to the cane to nothing at all, to playing in our competitive league, which is real metal bats, real pitching, not like our typical original league where every kid's hitting. So he advanced to the highest league, and then he advances to management within the concession at the Miracle League. He's running the place.
I want to dive into that for sure, because I don't know. Are you sure about this guy? But let's talk, because some people, we've talked about the field surface, and I think it's clear now that this is a place where everyone can play. Yeah. Let's talk about the experience, and I want to ask Caleb his experience, but you tell me. So I've sort of described it as I've watched it as a World Series experience for every participant. Yeah. And that's just my take on it. But talk about what does a kid experience as a Miracle League player?
I've always said this is a win-win-win situation, and it truly is. It's a win for the players because a lot of these kids have never been able to participate in a sport before, any sport, let alone baseball. Right, so it's a win for them. Yeah. They're coming out with their Major League jersey on. They're happening, man. So these guys are all-stars. Right. That's a win. But what about their parents, the moms and dads? As I mentioned, I didn't have a child with a disability. And I can remember when I was building the original field in Southfield, and I was speaking to a parent group. And this was a family night, pizza night. So the kids were running around and all sorts of different disabilities. And here I am with my Miracle League hat on, and I'm telling the parents we're building this field. And literally, Chris, I could sense the vibe that the parents were leaning, talking to each other, thinking I'm nuts, asking, does he know where he's at? And I kind of picked up on that, and I'm like, no, this is exactly what we're doing here. This is for your kids. And it was the most tender moment when I built the field. When I said that, I looked over to one of the dads sitting next to his wife, and I said, matter of fact, Dad, we want you to come out and coach. You be part of this too. And instantly his wife became emotional and teary-eyed, and she put her hands on her husband and she said, honey, you can still coach. And he became emotional. And I mean, to this day, because like I said, without having experience, I realized I had a dream of having a child playing Little League. My dream came true, but there are so many others that it didn't. So It's a win for the kid, it's a win for the families. They're elated, they're proud, they're in the stands cheering their kids on. The final win is the community. As you know, we can't do this alone.
Right.
Kids need help. You know, when they're in a wheelchair walker or they're blind, how are they going to hit a ball? Well, we have volunteers and they're members of the community, whether they're youth, baseball, softball, cheer teams, schools, or corporations, or individuals that want to help. And so everybody wins with this project. It's so much more than baseball.
It's so
I mean,
cool.
You see the baseball field, you see the kids in uniforms, but you've been out to our field, and we see beyond the baseball. It's about building self-esteem and confidence. That's what we do.
So I did come visit in person. I'd seen the YouTube videos, but when I came out there and saw what's happening, first two things. I had a smile on my face I couldn't wipe off for about 2 weeks. Seeing that not just the participants, but the parents and the buddies and the people that were helping the players in the field. The second reason I was so pumped and smiling is because of this guy right here. So Caleb, you have a zeal for life like very few people I've got to meet in the course of having this crazy job that I have. And he's funny, he's quirky, and you have cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So first of all, what does that mean to you and to someone that's watching this that doesn't fully understand? And you've grown up with a lifetime of weird looks, right?
Yeah. So CP, to me, cerebral palsy, is basically a framework for how I want to live my life. Because with my disability, I can either choose to be a Debbie Downer, be very monotone and like boring and just like depressed about my disability, but it was really like my parents who were the catalysts of not allowing that to happen in any way, shape, or form, because I was disregarded by school districts and that type of thing, because they said we don't have a program for kids with disabilities, and if they did. If they had a program with kids with disabilities, the kids that they were servicing had allergies. So it wasn't like they had a program to begin with for disabled kids. Like, we have kids with asthma, so it was one of those things where, like, my parents were the catalysts of starting to realize, like, we want this kid to be successful in society. We want him to be as much as he can to his friends, his family, so on and so forth.
So you have chosen to embrace this gift that you have, frankly, because I've heard you speak and you go to school districts and you talk to people about able-bodied and disabled people about how they can just love life and
well, I mean that's a part of it, because like a disability in a sense is somewhat of a limitation, but it's only as much of a limitation as you make it, quite frankly. And so whenever we do speeches in school districts, in elementary school, we're trying to get the kids to understand like how to treat kids with disabilities in a way that they feel as if they are a part of friend circles and a part of society as much as possible.
So tell me about you. How did you find out about the Miracle League? How old were you when you started?
I think I was 5 when I started. I think my mom heard about it through other disabled kids and their parents, and it was my first summer there. I started in a wheelchair. This was like my first experience. And like my mom and dad absolutely loved it, because it gives it gives them self-esteem and joy knowing that, you know, I'm doing something that people wouldn't think to be like doable.
So what was it like when you first met Steve? Do you remember that? You got to know Steve the first couple seasons out there?
It's been a long time, but like Steve, he's the type of guy that just has a zeal for, you know, people, and like his passion is infectious for something like this, and just the fact that we have the opportunity to play baseball and in the framework of a rubber field, it's a genius idea, and you see more and more of these popping all over the country, and I've traveled to see some of them, but none of them are like this one. And I'm not just saying that for nostalgia, but we went down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and, you know, theirs was good, but it wasn't, you know, the Miracle League of Michigan in Southfield. So
that's right. Or Orion.
You're talking to Chris, because
or North Oakland.
After that time he visited our field, he's super pumped after seeing it. He's like, we're going to even build this better than the Southfield. And he's like, I'm pretty competitive.
We're going to have a green monster.
Right.
And we're going to have.
I've seen it. Yeah.
So well, you've seen it. Yeah, we actually got to see. You got to stand on the actual field
it was awesome.
with your virtual VR glasses and look at the field and look at the home plate and actually feel like you're in it. So
yeah.
So now, fast forward to 2019, and in spite of this guy's best efforts, he hasn't been able to lose you, right?
No.
Talk about where you're at today with Miracle League.
So as far
and just in general in life.
Okay,
you're doing some big things.
So as far as like the Miracle League goes, I've been able to join their competitive league, as Steve alluded to, which uses metal bats and, you know, keeps track of score and whatnot, and that type of experience for more able-bodied kids that want to play competitively. So I did that for a few summers, and I loved it. And then Steve approached me and said, hey, if you want to work in the concession stand and still be a part of things, like we'd love to have you. And I'm currently doing that as a way to stay connected.
That was hilarious, too, because that was a big decision for him. Like, Caleb, do you continue to play ball or do you work? And,
yeah, and I wanted
he's
to
like,
work.
you know what? Money.
Show me the money. Show me the money.
So he retired from money. He sold out, basically.
And the really cool thing about what's happening in Orion, similar to Southfield, is that we are going to have an awesome concession stand. We're going to have that's not just going to serve the Miracle League field, but the field location is right next to our other 4 baseball fields and soccer fields. And Easter Seals of Michigan, who's our partner in this, they're going to run the concession stand. So we're hopeful we're going to have more Calebs like that are out here running our concession stand that are going to be generating revenue, making a living for themselves, and then also supporting the Miracle League field out here and also in Southfield.
Well,
so
you see, that's just another element of all of this. I mean, you get the kids, they play, they build self-esteem and confidence. As they get older, it's time to work. They can work right within our field a lot of times. I mean, we hire a lot of the ball players that have played with us. So, and I have to just give my props to all of you throughout the township. I mean, just a great group of people that are so motivated and so on fire. I mean, you guys are moving this along at record speed, and I do believe this is going to be just an amazing field.
That's cool. We're excited because Steve is the announcer, the DJ. Every kid that walks up gets to pick their walk-up music generally, and Steve says some fast facts about them, and it just the smile on the faces of these kids is just like I said. I was beaming for a couple weeks after.
Yeah.
So, what would you? So there is an opportunity here too, and we've already leaned heavily on our community, and our community has been extremely supportive of the goal and the mission, and we've raised $300,000 I think to date.
Right.
A field like this probably cost all in with a concession stand and press box and speakers and everything that we want it to be awesome, which is our goal of ours. It's probably at least $500,000. So there is an opportunity for people and local businesses and contractors to engage with us.
Absolutely.
So we're looking for if that's you and you're watching this, or someone you know that you could forward this video on, that we might be able to inspire them, or Caleb's story. We would love to engage with those people that might want to help us see this thing through. We have a really big goal, like I mentioned, of June 15th, 2019, and that would be a Saturday, and we want that to be the epic of all epic openings. So we're engaging with Selfridge Air National Guard Base to have a real flyover. Somebody famous.
He's serious. He's
Yeah,
gonna
no,
make
it's-
this.
Maybe
yeah.
somebody famous like you to sing the national anthem. No, I'd love to. Hey, if anybody knows Kid Rock, we'd love to have Kid Rock sing the national anthem.
You know what?
We dream big here.
You just have to get involved. That's what I say to the community and anyone watching this program. Whether you're a contractor, a volunteer, you're looking for hours, this is a project that you will be proud of. This for you, I say, and many that become involved in this project will be their legacy project. This is something that you will remember and be remembered for the rest of your life.
Right.
It's making a difference. And I mean, this is what we want, right?
Absolutely.
We want to be able to leave this life saying we made it better and we made it different. And that's what people are doing.
I completely agree, and you meet people the likes of Caleb, who, by the way, I don't know if you read the memo on people with CP, but you're supposed to have not a fun life, not make a big difference. You're supposed to hang out in your parents' basement for the rest of your life. What are you doing here? Obviously, I'm being very sarcastic because you're breaking the mold. And honestly, have you seen other people and your peers, because not just Miracle League, but the partnerships and the relationships they've made through participating, because you're in college now, right?
Yeah, so like one thing that I've noticed just through my friends and through the partnerships that I've gotten to gain is how much of an impact I'm able to have on them. And I don't mean to say that in a brash way, but in reality, like, your perspective on life is like so important. And that's the beauty of something like this is, as you alluded to earlier, it's a World Series experience for everyone involved, and it helps the parents with self-esteem. The kids get to play baseball, and that's like the game of America, right? So, like, it's one of those things where too, if you volunteer, like, this is going to be one of the most meaningful volunteer opportunities. Like, we'll have a lot of people come up to us and be like, I need volunteer hours because I'm in high school. Like, that's pretty normal. But after they're done with us, they're like, I'll see you next week. Like, I got to be here. And that's why we would refer to it as a World Series experience for everybody.
Right.
Well, a lot of parents feel that. They want to get their kids involved. I mean, you need to get out there and volunteer, is what they tell their kids. You need to experience that.
Right.
And I love it too when we get younger kids, 10 years up, because kids are not always friendly. When they see people that look different, they're not always friendly.
Right.
But when they get out to the field and they learn out there that the kid they're with, regardless of what his disability is, Chris, he's just like them.
Yeah.
Likes the same video games, likes the same things. They get the message.
Yeah.
We're all pretty much the same.
And I did not mean that statement towards you to be derogatory. I think when we were at Southfield, when I first met you, that you sort of joked around and saying, hey, I'm not supposed to be a general manager of a concession stand at a baseball field because I have CP, but you have broken the mold. And I think that's sort of the message. You don't have to, stay at your parents' house and just live this life of feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
You can actually do something with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He's close to having his associate's degree, assuming all the professors are kind to him and you get your homework done. And he's got big dreams for your life, right,
Yeah.
Caleb?
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say to you two guys as we kind of wrap here, thank you so much for sharing your story. Steve, your passion for serving people that you really honestly didn't have a real connection with, but just the heart you had really to put this on the map in Southeast Michigan. We wouldn't be here today talking about our field we're going to build if not for you.
I appreciate that.
Amazing partnerships we've developed with Independence Township. We want to mention them, our neighbors to the west, Easter Seals of Michigan. Our construction manager here at the Township, Cunningham Limp, are doing all their services in kind. There's lots of opportunities for people to partner with us. And if you're not a contractor or you don't own a roofing supply or something where you can help on that end, we're going to need hundreds, if not thousands, over the course of the years, volunteers, right, to partner with us. So,
right. Volunteers, money. I mean, this is a program that when you become involved in, whether it be just through a donation of time, money, or services, that you really are going to get back. I mean, you can donate to a lot of great national organizations, and they're great organizations, but do you really know where the money goes and what's going on?
Right.
This is a project where you give $20, $2,000, $200, whatever. You come watch the game. You be part of the action. You're part of this.
Every penny is going to the mission to help people like Caleb and help the small businesses that come out and volunteer have a World Series experience for everyone.
Right.
We actually had a few residents that made donations this past year for Christmas to family members in honor of a certain family member, a grandfather for the field. So what a great way to be involved.
And you're going to have sponsorships available for companies to become involved. So this beautiful field is going to be adorned with these large banners. And we have companies that spend $1,000, $5,000 on banners. Great space. It's a great opportunity for them to bring their employees out to volunteer, be represented on the wall. And it's just amazing.
So
you have to get involved, everyone.
So amazing. I want to thank you both so much, Caleb, Steve, for your
My
heart
pleasure.
and
Anytime.
for your time and for your blood, sweat, and tears to make this a reality and for kind of sharing your story. Please, I'm asking you, Orion Township, partner with us if any way you can, and at a minimum, at least circle that date. We'll see you out on that field on June 15th as we cut the ribbon, throw the first pitch, and help bring a World Series experience here to Orion Township. Thanks so much, and see you out there on the field.